Right across the street from the United Nations here in Geneva, the headquarters of the International Committee of the Red Cross. Founded 155 years ago, the mandate of the ICRC is to protect victims of international and internal armed conflicts.
Over the last couple of hours I could talk to many people here, SARC volunteers, council members, and in order to have an impression what the difficulties are for the people living here, encircled and in need of almost everything.
We wanted to know from the president of the organization,
how does this confrontation with pain and suffering affect you personally?
Well, of course, when you are in the field, when you are confronted with those affected by violence and war, you are affected by the pain of the people, you are affected by the distress you see. And what I try always is to turn the personal affection into motivation for what I'm doing. And I find it each and every day as a source of strength to also interact with people who do suffer from those terrible circumstances which are spreading, as we have seen over the last couple of years.
During your visits, you always meet with, personally meet with high-level state representatives, and military leaders. In face of all these humanitarian tragedies in these countries, aren't you sometimes tempted, to condemn those in power and say, why do you let that happen?
Well, of course, you are tempted. The question is a little bit, what is conducive to a positive result for victims? And so convincing is more important than condemning. Confidentiality and interpersonal relationship is more important in order to change behavior than public stances are. And I think this attitude and this insight has also developed in the policy of the organization. That's what ICRC is.
The ICRC operates in over 80 countries, with a total number of 11,000 employed people worldwide.
With emerging technologies, cyber warfare and new tactics of war, how do you see the future of conflict? And what will be the big challenges for humanitarian organizations over, say, the next 5 years?
I fear from the constellations which are in place that we will see a further spreading and diffusion of violence into societies, which again will challenge humanitarian organizations because of the continued trend that we have been observing between escalating and exponential needs of people disrupted by violence on the one side and our ability, which is limited, to respond.
From your point of view, what role can faith-based organizations play in the field of humanitarian aid?
I think faith-based organizations are important members of the larger humanitarian community bringing assistance and protection to people. And I think it is important that we build alliances in order to have impact, positive impact for people. And this is what ICRC is doing. We are working a lot in the field with Catholic, with Muslim organizations, with Buddhist organizations, which in solidarity with people in need, mobilize public opinions, mobilize resources, mobilize skills in order to mitigate the effects of conflict and violence. What counts at the end of the day is to relieve the suffering. And here faith-based organizations play a critical role today, and ICRC has considerably expanded its relationships, cooperations, exchanges with faith-based organizations, and wherever we meet in the field, we try to cooperatively work together.
The ICRC is one of the most widely recognized organizations in the world, having won 3 Nobel Peace Prizes, in 1917, 1944 and 1963.